I read 37 books in 2021. Not all of them were good, and not all of them were relevant to this channel. The books I've chosen for this list resonated with me as a life coach and also as an entrepreneur. And each of them gave me something that I value and helped me to move forward. I'd like to share that with you. So let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Wallace Russell from CoachWallaceRussell.com. Here are the 5 books that I've chosen to share with you that I enjoyed from 2021. Now, I'm going to confess I did not buy them all. In fact, most of them I got from the library. I'm really pretty much enamored with the library in that it's so easy for me to download a book directly, especially an audiobook, directly into my phone and start listening to it immediately, or a digital book directly into my Kindle. So most of the books, at least my first reads, come from the library. And so these are ones that I'm sharing with you. Some of them I will buy because they were great for me and I want to reread them. And when I feel like there's a book that I want to read a second time, I think it's very responsible for me to make sure that I own a copy because I appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get started. The first book on the list is Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's probably my favorite of the 5. Well, maybe not, but certainly one of the top 1 or 2. Anyway, Atomic Habits is a book that explains and teaches and shares with you how to take habits and reward systems to use them to make you live your life better. It's very grounded. It's easy to understand. It's easy to follow. It makes sense. And it is actually a book that I advise some of my clients to look into and read because I find it very helpful. A lot of people don't have a reward system or a habit system that works and moves them forward. And this book really helps with that and explains why. In addition to that, the book has an online component. So there's a newsletter. There are additions to the book that are only online that you can use to enhance your experience. And there's even a community that you can become part of that moves forward with this Atomic Habits conversation. So I really enjoyed the book. Take a look at Atomic Habits by James Clear. My second book is The Entrepreneur's Paradox by Curtis Morley. Now, this is a book that explains how people that try to start a business often fail because of how they think of what brought them into starting a business in the first place. Now, this book covers a lot more than I needed. It talks about 3 different kinds of an entrepreneur. I am one, the lowest one of them. And it also talks about entrepreneurs that are trying to sell their company to a larger company, or entrepreneurs that are trying to make millions of dollars or more on an IPO. Those last 2 have nothing to do with me. And there's a lot of information for each type of entrepreneur, whatever level you are, and very valuable, including numbers and figures and graphs. But only a third of that really applies to me because I'm only the lowest end entrepreneur. There was still value for me. And what I got from it specifically is I became an entrepreneur because I am very good at what I do. I have a service, or if I had a product, it would be the same way. And I'm very good at it. But what I'm not good at, or what I was not good at when I started this process, is being an entrepreneur. That's an entirely different skill set. It has nothing to do with my product or service. Uh, it has everything to do with making that profitable, making that into a company that's worth my time, how to package it, how to sell it, how to bring it to the right people so that I can continue doing it in the way that inspires me. And if I only tried to do this as a life coach, then I might never get paid enough, or I might never make enough to continue. Because truth be told, if I could sustain myself, I would help people for free. So it's an entirely different hat to wear, and it talks about how that works. It's very graphical, tells really good stories, and I really enjoyed that book. So again, I recommend The Entrepreneur's Paradox by Curtis Morley. The third book on my list is a book I actually own. The title of the book is The Seven Spiritual Laws of Success. It's by Deepak Chopra. You may have heard of him. When I first read the book, a lot of it went over my head or is a little too esoteric for me, and I got something from it, and I'm happy I own it, but I thought it was time for a reread. And in this case, I did reread it, and I got something new from it. So what I got from this book is, and this book is all about creating abundance and prosperity, but again, very spiritual. But there was something that I got from it that worked for me, and it went something like this. You have a huge goal. You want to move a mountain. And so you come up with a general plan on how that mountain is going to get moved. And then you cut that plan into pieces, bite-sized pieces, so you know what to do each day or each week. And if you follow those bite-sized pieces and do what you need to do each day and each week, you will ultimately get the mountain moved. What I learned from the book is once you have it down to the bite-sized pieces, remove the mountain from your view. It no longer matters. What you should be concentrating on is working your plan, doing the daily and weekly things that you need to do to be successful, and enjoy it and find joy in it, find love in it, and just work that, like kneading the dough to make the bread, and just doing that until you get there. If you take a look at the mountain you need to move too often and look at what you've done, you will feel that it is less than. You will feel that you're not doing enough. You will feel like, oh my goodness, I'll never get it done. And it doesn't matter because whether or not you see it, because you really need to be looking at what's in front of you, what you need to do to move forward, those little things, those steps. So get that out of your head and out of your view and just work your plan. So it's a small book. It's very spiritual. I do recommend it. I do have a copy of it. It's a little dog-eared on the cover, but what are you going to do? My fourth book is called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F Word. I'm not going to use that word here on YouTube. But it's by a guy named Mark Manson. This is not a book I would normally have read. I don't really read a lot of books that have this kind of language or that speak in this way, but it shows up on a lot of book lists, a lot of things that I like to read. This shows up on those lists. So I thought I'd take a chance and choose something I normally wouldn't have chosen and see how it worked out. What I liked about this book is, let's say it's very pedestrian. It's not overblown and over your head. This is a regular guy telling you what he went through and why. And what it talks about is the things that we hold on to that we think are important are often the things that are ruining us or are causing us to have pain and challenges in this world. It is caring about them. The things that may or may not matter that we can change to be more effective, to have an outcome or a pathway to that outcome that is more enjoyable and more empowering for us. So I found that book to be useful. It was not something I would normally read. It's not written in a way I normally read these type of books, but I found it very grounded. I found it very conversational, easy to follow, and it's definitely worth your time. The fifth book that I've chosen for this list is 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Now, I'm a fan of Jordan Peterson because I've seen him on YouTube and seen him in other different things. And the things he talks about, he's very intelligent, very accomplished person. I thought I would give it a shot. You know, his book is a bestseller of some sort, and it has a lot of following, and a lot of people that I follow have read the book. So Jordan Peterson, if you don't know, is a clinical psychologist. He is also a bit of a religious guy and very intelligent, explains things very well. And this is what I got from the book, or some of what I got from the book. There, he has his 12 rules for life. And some of those rules I already had, and some I didn't, and some I added to my own. But when he offers a rule, he explains intellectually, he explains with history on why this rule is important and why you need to be following it to be successful and to have a life that is meaningful and useful to you. And that was easy to follow. I didn't have to be a scientist or a psychologist to follow. But then he'll also talk about a religious path to why that rule should exist and why you should follow it. So if you come from that place, there's an explanation there. In addition to that, he also will tell a story that sort of ties it in together, a story from his own life on why it's important. Then by the time you get to the end of the chapter for that rule, it's hard to disagree. You could disagree with his logic, but if you can follow his faith, then that makes sense. And then the story has makes sense. And I found how he explained things to be very compelling and enjoyable. And I tried to take some of those things into how I explain things. So I'm not saying I agree with every rule. I'm saying that some of those rules are great and the stories behind it are useful and it is worth your time. And after that book was done, or after I finished reading the book, I created my own rules for life. Some of them are in that book and some are my own. But what those rules are, that's for another video. I've decided to add a bonus book. This book is not as relevant as the others, but it was a good book for me. I read it this year, and the title of that book is Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents by Lindsay Gibson. The title says it all. I am in and have been in relationships where people are emotionally immature. I also have endured something and talking about my own emotional immaturity, and it really helped me to understand it or to be more accepting of people that are in this place and what has happened to me because of people that are in this place and how perhaps I have affected others, how to recognize it, how to deal with it. It's not a how-to book on how to get over it, but it does explain a lot of it very well. It's written by a clinical psychologist, so that's great. And I want to give a shout out to Skylar for recommending this book to me because I didn't know it existed and it was not on any of my reading lists and I would not have read it if not for her. So thank you, Skylar. Those are my books. What do you think? I've also put links below. So if you'd like to take a look at the books and find out for yourself, you may do so. As always, thank you for your time. Please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment in the comments below. If you want to work with me as a life coach, there's also a link below that will enable you to set up a free consultation, and I'd really like to consult with you to see if there's something we can do together. As always, your time and your energy is appreciated, and I look forward to it next time. See you then.